From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning, security gang. How's everyone doing this Thursday, May 1st, 2025? Great to be live here with all of y'all today. If you missed yesterday, if you're at home like I am and you're not at RSA, and you missed yesterday's afternoon's live broadcast with Andy Ellis, a partner at YL Ventures, and the great Alan Alford of NTT, formerly of the Cyber Ranch podcast, then you missed a great conversation. So I urge you to go back, watch it. It's available on our YouTube channel. It will be on all audio channels tomorrow. So if you're an audio consumer of the show, don't worry. It'll be available tomorrow on our Substack at our website at cyberhubpodcast.com and on all audio channels as well. We've got a packed show for all of y'all today. A lot happening in the world for cybersecurity practitioners. Let's get right into that this morning. But before we do, a CyberHub podcast tradition here. I've got my double espresso this morning. It's a beautiful Lavazza, super creamy type of blend. Really, the foam is unbelievable. I like my espresso like very, very creamy. And so like it's got to have like good foam on top of it. Otherwise, it's just black coffee. It's the machine's not clean. The coffee's burnt. And when you get it like that, it's really, really bitter. So without further ado, coffee cup cheers, y'all. You also insult Italians. The whole idea of the foam is the beauty of how you do it. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get the ball running here with Ascension Health Systems now notifying over 100,000 people that the Cleo breach that took place in December of last year was attributed to a third-party data breach. Ascension is a nonprofit healthcare system. The organization says it learned about the breach on December 5th, which, given its description of the incident, suggests it's linked to the Cleo hack that affected nearly a dozen entities, including Hertz and the Western Alliance Bank. Ascension, which runs one of the largest healthcare systems in the U.S., appears to have been affected as well, though the former business partner that it did not name. In a short notice this week, the organization revealed that personal and health information like names, addresses, phone numbers, dates of birth, email addresses, social security numbers, diagnosis details, insurance information, and inpatient visit details were stolen in the attack. So they're giving everyone 2 years of free credit monitoring and identity theft protection. Here is where this actually plays a greater impact for practitioners, and something one has to understand. The stealing of people's information is common at this point. At this point, everyone's had their information stolen at least a dozen times, if not more, right? That's not the issue here. The lines here that get me worried are diagnosis details, insurance information, and inpatient visit details, specifically because that leads to a higher rate of insurance fraud and claims fraud. If I have all this information, I'm able to fake a better invoice and bill the insurance to get paid to a different account. And these systems are just so complex in terms of payment, and they're just so out there that it's really, really easy to mimic these types of attacks. So when you look at what the business risk here is, it's specifically financial insurance fraud. They're not going to steal you. They're going to use your identity as a way to create fake claims. And so that's something to keep in mind if you're a victim of this. Notices to the patients were sent to locations in Alabama, Michigan, Indiana, Tennessee, and the great state of Texas. Notices were also sent to Massachusetts and Texas authorities to show that more than 114,700 people were affected by the breach. Ascension also disclosed a data breach that affected roughly 5.6 million individuals. That was back in May of 2024. That was due to a Black Bastard ransomware attack. Ascension not new to this, but definitely there as well. British supermarket chain Co-op shuts down part of its IT systems after detecting attempted intrusions, disrupting some of their back office and call center services. A Co-op spokesperson confirming the hack attempts to Bleeping Computer say they have not shared whether the attempts were successful or not. So you don't take your systems offline because of a potential threat, because that's a really bad incident response policy. Right, that's like really bad business. I believe they went through a cybersecurity incident. There was some unauthorized access to their systems, not attempted, and they shut down all the systems. Because ideally, we go through unauthorized access in our systems every single day. When you're a practitioner, each and every single day, there's incident one or two of unauthorized access by someone. At that point, you block off that account, you make them call in, you validate, you restore. You don't shut down your entire systems for unauthorized access. That doesn't make any sense. So that's where I'm kind of calling them out on that. Co-op is a UK supermarket chain that operates 3,700 branches across the country, having reported an annual revenue of nearly $10 billion. The entity is a consumer-owned cooperative with over 6.2 million members as of last year. In addition to its own stores, they also supply products to over 5,100 other outlets, including those run by independent cooperative societies, through its wholesale business. So UK retail is under attack. Marks and Spencer obviously also experiencing their own cyber breach just last week. So we have that as well. We'll move to North Korea, and those pesky North Koreans continue with their IT infrastructure fraud and worker fraud. Now, North Korean nationals have infiltrated the employer ranks at top global companies more than previously thought, maintaining a pervasive and potentially widening threat against IT infrastructure and sensitive data. There are hundreds of Fortune 500 organizations that have hired these North Korean IT workers, according to Mandiant Consulting CTO Charles Carmichael, saying Tuesday during a media briefing at RSA, literally every Fortune 500 company has had at least dozens, if not hundreds of applications for North Korean IT workers. Nearly every CISO that I've spoken to about the North Korean IT worker program has admitted they've hired at least one North Korean IT worker, if not a dozen or few dozen. Google, which ranks 8th on the annual list of top global companies by revenue, is caught up by a widespread threat as well. North Korean technical workers have been detected in Google's talent pipeline as job candidates, even applicants. None have been hired by the company to date, according to Ian Mullahan, the senior director of security engineering at Google Cloud. The latest warnings and intels from Mandiant and Google constitute an escalation of this threat and its disruption to business. All in all, we're seeing North Korea really kind of pick that up and target more and more companies. And again, this remote threat with everything else going on really does give this a whole lot more credence. Sentinel-1, for their end, have shared some information on the types of threat actors that have targeted their company recently. No surprise there. They're reporting that all too regularly they're targeted by threat actors, including the North Korean IT workers, ransomware groups, and even state-sponsored cyber spies. The North Korean fake IT workers is a growing problem. In this type of scheme, North Korean individuals use fake identities to get jobs at Western companies, like we just talked about in the previous story. Then they make money for the Pyongyang regime, in some cases to obtain valuable data from organizations that hired them, and then potentially deal it on the dark web to China, Russia, or other cyber criminal gangs. KnowBe4 famously were targeted in a scheme like this last year. There's been arrests made in these cases of some U.S. operatives that were collaborating with them knowingly or unknowingly. One was a romance scam where it actually traced back to Africa. So the North Korean had someone in Africa who was kind of running romance scams, and they used that person as a way to get laptops shipped to their romance scam victim. And then that romance scam victim was setting it up. All seemed like a legitimate part of business. So there's that. Sentinel-1 said it too was targeted. An analysis conducted by the company revealed approximately 360 fake personas and more than 1,000 job applicants for roles at Sentinel-1, including its intelligence engineering team. Sentinel-1 says it was also targeted by profit-driven cyber criminals, including some ransomware gangs whose objective was to gain access not to the company's systems, but to its products, which can enable them to evade detection. And so all of that, you're seeing these threats target cybersecurity companies just as much as they target regular non-security organizations. And that leads to, how do you adjust to this? And the TPRM perspective, third-party risk management, this entails that you treat your cybersecurity company like you treat every other vendor. Never assume that just because they're a cybersecurity company that they actually have a mature cyber program. In fact, when I had Andy Ellis on the show a while ago, not yesterday's show, he talked about the fact that he doesn't think a startup should have a CISO until like their C round or B round, right? And so just because someone has cybersecurity experience coming to solve a cybersecurity problem doesn't necessarily make them an expert at running a cybersecurity program. It makes them an expert at solving a cybersecurity problem, not running a cybersecurity program. Those are two very, very different things, and something you have to keep in mind. Sentinel-1, a very mature organization. Obviously, they do have a CISO in the staff. They have a robust security team internally as well. And so they've been able to thwart off these attacks. But if you're a disruptor, you're new in this market, you're a CISO, you do have to consider these things and maybe have a CISO, someone with the experience as you build your company, to give you the resiliency you need to withstand the types of attacks that are going to come from threat actors, criminals, and so much more. We'll move to a topic de voix yesterday on the show when Andy and Alan and I were talking, which is AI. Anthropic, the owners of Claude, are saying that their Claude AI chatbot was leveraged for an influence as a service operation to engage with authentic accounts across Facebook and X. The sophisticated activity was branded as financially motivated. It's said to have used its AI tool to orchestrate 100 distinct persons on 2 social media platforms, creating a network of politically aligned accounts and engaging with tens of thousands of authentic accounts. The now disrupted operation, according to researchers over at Anthropic, prioritized persistence and longevity over vitality and sought to amplify moderate political perspectives that supported or undermined European, Iranian, UAE, and Kenyan interests. These included promoting the UAE as a superior business environment while being critical of European regulatory frameworks, focusing on energy security narratives for European audiences, and cultural identity narratives for Iranian audiences as well. The efforts also pushed narratives supporting Albanian figures and criticizing opposition figures in the unspecified European country, as well as advocated development initiatives and political figures in Kenya. These influence operations are consistent with some state-affiliated campaigns, but who's behind them remains unknown at this time. Claude was used as the orchestrator, deciding what social action bot accounts should take based on politically motivated persona. The operation is believed to be the work of a commercial service that caters to different clients across various countries. So specifically, there's nothing to combine all of those unless it's one company doing this, hired by multiple different entities to do something extremely similar. By using this programmatic framework, operators could officially standardize and scale their efforts and enable systematic tracking and updating of personas attributed persona attributes, engagement history, and narrative themes across multiple accounts simultaneously. So there you go, abusing AI just for that. We'll move here and speed up as NSO group damages in the WhatsApp spyware case could be in the tens of millions, as experts now predict that the parent company is asking for over $440,000 in compensatory damages, but fines for punitive damages could rise to the tens of millions of dollars. The lawsuit stems from NSO's spyware against WhatsApp. WhatsApp's obviously suing. That lawsuit has been lost by NSO, and now the punitive penalties phase is here shortly there. We'll see what happens there. Russian companies are experiencing the shorter end of the cyber attack side of the house, with a large-scale phishing campaign designed to deliver a known malware called Dark Watchman. Targets of the attack are including entities in media, tourism, finance, and insurance, manufacturing, retail, energy, telecom, transport, and biotechnology sectors, according to F6, a Russian cybersecurity company. The activity is assessed to be the work of a financially motivated group they call Hive 0117, which has been attributed by IBM X-Force to attacks aimed at Russians in Lithuania, Estonia, and Russian spanning telecom, electronic, and industrial sectors. Dark Watchman malware was used once in a phishing campaign targeting energy, finance, transport, and software security industries based in Russia, Kazakhstan, Latvia, and Estonia. The JavaScript-based RAT Darkman Watch is capable of keylogging, collecting system information, and even deploying secondary payloads. It was first documented back in December of 2021. So there's that. This also comes as Ukraine are dealing with her. And then again, Russia and Ukraine go at each other all day long. I mean, the fact is there are people dying every single week at that war. There's cyber attacks happening every single day, and it's evolving. Like I've seen some of the attacks that have orchestrated by Russia on Ukraine and by Ukraine on Russia. I've had some firsthand experiences with both of those, and I can tell you, it's changing the way we practice security. It has to evolve the way we think about cybersecurity going forward, and it's gonna have to change because everything that happens in the cyberkinetic battlefield ends up in the retail side, right? Eventually, weapons get upgraded, techniques change, and then it becomes a civilian matter. So that's something to keep in mind there as well. SonicWall this week warning of an in-the-wild exploitation of 2 vulnerabilities that impact their secure mobile access 100 series products. The first security defect is CVE 2023-44221, has a CVSS score of 7.2. It's an OS command injection bug that could be exploited remotely. However, it doesn't require admin privileges. The second issue, CVE 2024-38475, has a CVSS score of 9.8. It's a critical severity path traversal flaw in Apache HTTP server that allows an attacker to map URLs to file system locations that are permitted to be served by the server. It could be exploited remotely and even without any sort of authentication. The two vulnerabilities affect SonixWall's SMA 200, SMA 210, 400, 410, and 500V. All of those need to be upgraded to software versions that solve both of those bugs. Tech giants like Cisco, Microsoft, Dell, IBM, Oracle, and Red Hat publishing a draft for an open end-of-life framework to standardize the way companies announce when products will stop receiving security patches or any sort of form of support. The standardization committee, with a 29-page white paper, documents the framework. The coalition hopes will become a universal machine-readable format for notifying users when products are no longer supported and potentially vulnerable. Again, it's a good thing that they're doing this. A standard is needed. It's also a sales issue there. So there's that as well. In a surprise guest appearance at RSA on Tuesday, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem appeared and reassured the audience that the Trump administration remains committed to combating cyber threats and protecting the nation, warning of changes at CISA to redirect the agency towards its core responsibility, including going after malicious hackers, focusing on building resilience among critical infrastructure operators and small businesses. Secretary Noem said in her keynote address at RSA that she's focusing significantly on getting CISA back on its critical mission, saying it's strayed beyond its remit in recent years and vowed to put a stop to those activities. We need to put CISA back on mission. Many times, CISA is doing important work, but we also saw them get in areas that they were not created. Again, the politicization of CISA was something that should have never happened. It did happen under the two former directors, Chris Krebs and Jen Easterly, and now the pendulum is swinging on the other direction. We hope that, again, they're able to fix that. Noem also offered a surprising endorsement of Secure by Design initiative, saying the Trump team would continue to push companies to develop more secure technology. She also said DHS planned to use purchasing power to demand that we have secure products on the market and make related procurement recommendations to state and local government. We're not going to be paying for security add-ons that should have been in the software to begin with, according to Secretary Noem. Again, all those things are good. We'll see what happens there with the appointment of a new secretary. Obviously, that's being held up by the Senate for now. So until we have a new director in the chair at CISA, CISA remains in a bit of limbo, but still functioning. That's it for our show this morning. We'll be back on Monday, 9 a.m. Eastern, live with all the latest and greatest. Until then, have a great rest of your day. To our friends in Israel, celebrating their Independence Day, 77 years. Yom Atzmaut Sameach. 77 years to many, many more, to the great people and our friends over in the state of Israel today, celebrating their Independence Day. And for all of y'all, thank you so much for tuning in. And most importantly, y'all, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.